Sup homies, and welcome to a quick guide on what you will need for a game of Apex Legends. Well, other than skill that is. In this video, two factors will be discussed, which are internet and hardware. Starting off with the internet, the first factor you need to consider is raw speed. Even though Google recommends 512 kilobits per second, we argue that such a speed will be insufficient for a game as large as Apex. Hence, we'd recommend at least 10 megabits per second. This shouldn't be much of a problem given most Wi-Fi connections provide about 25 megabits per second, give or take. You can use the speed test link given in the description to gauge your current connection. However, the more limiting factor is ping. Roughly, this is the time for your actions on your computer to actually make a change in the game. And you guessed it, the smaller the better. We would recommend a maximum of 200 milliseconds for non-competitive ping. The speed test we mentioned earlier will provide you with the ping of your connection, but it will increase if you have to connect to an Apex server further away. Thus, we'd say add about 80 milliseconds to the ping of your connection to get a safe estimate for what your in-game ping would be. A special note, with a higher ping, we recommend you avoid using single fire weapons in-game, especially the Peacekeeper and the Wingman. A more commonly used tip for decreasing ping is using an Ethernet cable and some paid VPNs such as ExpressVPN. And no, we are not sponsored yet. Also, note that a 20-meter cable doesn't provide a worse connection when compared to a 3-meter cable. The effects are very negligible and it should perform well. Moving on to the hardware. The minimum system requirements we'd recommend are a 64-bit Windows 8 operating system, an Intel Core i3 6th Gen 3.8 GHz processor, or an AMD FX 4350 4.2 GHz quad-core processor. So, at the time of release, the OS requirement was actually Windows 7, but it is said to not be supported very soon. Hence, we recommend using Windows 8. As for the CPU, we'd recommend that compared to the rest of the specs, an i5 processor should prove more useful. And the minimum GPU specs are a NVIDIA GeForce GTX 750 Ti GPU or a Radeon R7 265 GPU with a minimum GPU RAM of 2 GB. As most of you know, the GPU renders the graphics of the game, and this can be turned down without affecting your in-game performance. Choose to upgrade this only if you want to explore the beauty of the Apex maps. And for the minimum storage specs, you should have a hard drive with a minimum 70 GB of free space with a 6 GB RAM. Well, as you know, Apex has come a long way since it was released and now takes about 69 GB. Nice, of space on the disk. This is prone to increase over time as more maps are released, but for now, 70 should keep you safe. Most would argue that 8 GB of RAM would be necessary for Apex, but the game can be run on 6 with minimum settings and it can be considered playable, but go for 8 if it is on the cards. Note that these should be reasonably playable with only minimum graphics settings and is not recommended for competitive play, for example, grinding rank. If you just want to get in on the fun with your friends, this should suffice. And that wraps up our guide to the minimum requirements for Apex Legends on PC. And for those of you looking for multi-purpose budget laptops for Apex and school or work, we have an entire video dedicated to guide you through cheaper laptops along with their pros and cons. The video should appear right about now. So guys, thank you very much for watching. And till next time, homies.